Hi there. This is a tutorial on how to create a macro and auto clicker. All you need is a Java and IDE, and you can get started. So let's start. File, new project. Then I'm gonna call this macro auto clicker. And make sure you've chosen your location. I've chosen desktop, and make sure to empty project. Okay, so you've created the project. Now let's create the first class. Before we get started, let's map it out once. So we need to create a GUI first that says, okay, press enter to start, and let's say press escape to stop. There's some keys that we can use because it's simple and you wouldn't mistake them, and they're also intuitive. Next thing we need to work on is the macro itself. You can split the macro into two parts, the auto clicker and the actual movement of keys like WASD to move your character in your game. So for WASD, what we can do is we can say what key needs to be pressed, how many times, and how long. We can do that by milliseconds, and then how many cycles of that should we do. And for auto clicker, it's a little bit simpler. Like we need to figure out which class has to take advantage of your cursor, and then how many times we need to click it, how long, and where to put it on the screen. That's, I think, the main purpose of this macro, and more can be added later. For this first video, what we can work on now is just the GUI and some basicness of starting and stopping the macro. So to create a GUI, all you really need to do is use JFrame, configure a few settings. That's about it for now. So first thing we need to do is get the command line. The command line is where all code is run, and pretty much where the computer looks, okay, whatever's in here, this line, so 4 to 5 for us, it will run that stuff. It will create that. So to create a GUI, we need to first take advantage of JFrame. So let's create an instance of JFrame. Private static JFrame frame. We'll import the class. What this does is we've taken all of JFrame, this parent class, and we've put all its attributes into this little instance of it. We can use that instance now in a method. So if I go down here, we can make this little method called create GUI. This will create our GUI. And it seems to be an error. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's try one more time. Private static void create GUI. Sorry, I forgot the void because we have no parameters in here. So we have to put void so it says, okay, just tell the computer we're not making any parameters. It's like, okay, I got it. So now creating the GUI, first thing we need to do is use frame and make it and tell the computer, okay, make a JFrame. So new JFrame, and inside these parentheses we can write the title. For our title, we'll name it macro, and we can make this uppercase. Next thing we need to do is a few things every single GUI needs. So first thing is set size. And we can set the size to 500 by 500, just a random number. We can change that later if we need to. Then frame.setVisible, set to true. Then frame.setDefault, close operation. This sounds scary, but it's actually pretty simple. All it's saying that how should we close it? So when we exit it, click the red arrow on Mac, or click the X on Windows, it will close. It won't just stay open. So next thing we need to do is one last thing, just a little thing I always do just in case. It's so whenever there's a component, sometimes we say this component should go on this XY of our screen. So this is 0, 0, it might go to 1 by 1, 1 by 2. We say this component should be here. And our GUI might have to adjust to go over there. This just says the GUI goes where the GUI is going to go. No component can change that. So we don't really need that for now. We'll set to no. And that's like the basic stuff for our GUI. So we're going to run this, but first we need to say in the command line, when you tell it create this, you can write swing utilities dot invoke later. Say when it's available, run it. We write macro. And now you created a GUI, a little screen here. So if we get back to here, now what we can do is we can first put a label, of course, and then what we can do is we can add the start and stop of the macro. So press enter, you can start it, press escape and stop it. So for just adding the text is pretty simple, right? J label, and it's pretty simple. It's a label, call this label, and it can say new J label. And inside here, we can say press enter to start macro, and then press escape to stop macro. Some pretty simple instructions. Anybody can do it. Oops, escape. Okay, now all we need to do is add this to the frame. So frame.add JLabel. So just label. And now it's adding it in. So now what we need to do is understand how to make the keys and how it should listen to the keys in a way. But amazingly, Java's made it pretty intuitive. How should the GUI listen to keys or see what key you're pressing? You use key listener. So literally a class. It's called add key listener. So we've added this thing that will listen to our keys now, and we can make a new key adapter. So what this does is it's telling us that, okay, so this is listening. There's every single key has their own code, and it's listening to that code and of like each code. So let's say D has the code VK_D, and in there we can use that then to, let's say, record D is being pressed, and we can translate it to a simple language for us. So letter D equals VKD. So that's what this class does. So let's get back to what we're doing. So the first thing we need to do is create this little method inside here. Avoid key pressed. I think it popped up a second ago. Can you go back? Here you go. And we actually don't need override. All we need is this. And we can take this over too. Public void key press. So if the key is pressed, we'll create an event and we'll call that event E. Now that we can create an if then statement. So if, and we can write if E dot get key code. So get the key code of whatever the event the key is pressed. And if that's equal to, let's say, key event enter, right? So let's say key event dot enter. So it will look for that. If it's enter, then it will check it. And we can do whatever we want to do that. The first thing I want to do is make it for our starting and stopping. We can create the variable up here, and I can call it, we can call it isRunnable. IsRunnable, right? Public, and public, right? So we can always use it in different classes if we make more classes. So public static isRunnable, or is running, better. So in is running, what we can do now is, is running, right? Oh, Boolean, sorry. So with this, what we can do is we can create a variable. What it will do is it will see, okay, so if we want our thing to start running, we can say make is running true. We want it to make it false, so it stops. We can make it false. So what we can do now with that is, so we can check, is it also, so and is runnable. Will tell us what is runnables, or is running, sorry, is status, is it true or false. Now we can come here and we can make a class or a method later that handles the starting. So we can call it start macro. It's going to be super confused right now, like, what are you saying to me? You're not creating this yet. It's not a thing. Don't worry too much about it. So that is the starting. Now else if, and in here what we can do is we can see when it stops. So else if e dot get key code equals key event, where is it? Yeah, key event dot vk escape. Then what we can do with it is we will say that stop the macro. So we can write stop macro. We'll make a method in a few minutes about stopping the macro. So now we've created this little, you could say, outline, and we need to create the classes start macro, or sorry, method start macro and stop macro. So we can start with start macro. That's funny. Private static void start macro. And in here, private static void. It should be fine. I don't know what bug now. Not statement expected. Oh, sorry, we put it inside this create GUI. That's why it's not working. You always need to put it outside because it's its own method. So private static void. You can call it, of course, just copy this. Start macro. Now this should be fine. If you look above here, it's not giving us that red oops signal. We'll copy this down here. So now we'll put stop macro. So now we have this little outline, and for start and stop, what we can do is we can use that is runnable again. So let's use that quickly. So we can say if right is running, and we can take that value, and then we can say is running true this time because we're starting it, of course. True. Now what we can do is we can create a thread. So just for some basic background information, a thread is what the computer uses, not how much space it's taking up, how much the CPU is going to use. If we use one thread, it shouldn't take up too much power and heat up our computer too much, especially on MacBooks or Windows machines. We can create this little variable, you could say, kind of, or instance again. So private static thread. We'll call this thread macro thread. And with macro thread, what we can do is we can use it now, of course. So this thread, macro thread, we can make this true over here. So start it up. We are starting the engine, use this much space only. It'll make us more power efficient. So macro thread equals new thread. And this thread, we are not saying what you should run. So for now, we're not going to actually run anything. We'll just put, let's say, run macro. Because we don't actually have something that's going to run. This is telling it, okay, make a new thread and run this. But we have not created what to run yet. So for now, I'll just put run macro. So, and then we can say macro thread start, of course. Dot start. Dot start. Okay. So now, let's do stop macro, of course. And for stop macro, it's pretty much the complete opposite. So just copy this quickly. If running is true, and what if running is that, we'll make it false now. Now, if it's false, that's perfect for us now. We've made it false. But let's pretend that our macro thread is failed for some reason because is running is false, but the macro thread is still going. The thread will become null then because we've stopped it, but it's still going for some reason. So macro thread equals null. Then what we're gonna do is first we'll make is running false. Oh wait, sorry. If macro thread is null, then we're gonna stop the macro thread. So macro thread, and we'll interrupt it, meaning we're also gonna stop it. So interrupt. Now we've stopped it, and it's all completely stopped, and there's no issues with our code except this run macro, which we haven't said yet. So now we have the basis of a macro in a way. It will start, stop, it looks for the key codes. So when we press enter, it'll start it, press stop, it will stop it. So this will be the first video for now, and we will finish it next video. We'll start with our macro. I hope this is a good series, and I hope you learned something and it's helpful in your daily life. So please subscribe, ring the bell, and like the video. Signing off. Smart Script.